the founder and CEO of Advisors Academy, David Scranton. David, we're so glad to have you back on America's Forum.
Thank you, GD.
And the question that really concerns me, because bonds to me have long been, I must confess, a mystery. What is the difference between individual bonds on the bond market and these bond funds? Is there a place that we should go? Do you prefer one over the other?
Well, right now there's a big difference. When you buy an individual bond, you have two important guarantees. First, you have a guaranteed interest rate for the life of the bond. Second, when that bond matures, you're guaranteed to get your full face value back. That assumes, of course, there have been no defaults. Bond mutual funds, however, are a different animal. When you buy a bond mutual fund, the interest rates, as I'm sure you're aware, can fluctuate. And when the bond funds mature, there is no date at which bond funds mature, which means that they have additional risks. By going from bonds to bond funds, what you've really done is you've lost the two important guarantees that individual bonds have.
Now, in terms of the bond market, and we used to hear so much about munis, municipal bonds, and hey, this was the way to go at times of market uncertainty. As we take a look at what is happening, not only in the overall economy, but with the fiscal health or the lack thereof of so many communities around the country, so many municipalities, is the bond market the place to be at this volatile time?
Well, clearly you need to pick your battles. You need to be careful and make sure that you're choosing bonds that are more secure. Obviously, Detroit tells us a lot about what's been happening recently. And if you look at municipalities, obviously you want to focus perhaps more heavily on general obligation bonds, bonds that are backed by the full faith and credit of that municipality. The biggest fear right now with bonds is that people are concerned what happens if, as the Federal Reserve keeps backing off of QE3 and takes their foot slowly off the accelerator, how that would affect interest rates. And of course, if interest rates go up, bond values drop. And again, that's my biggest concern to the question you had a few minutes ago between bonds and bond funds. For the last 33 years, we've had a declining overall interest rate environment, which means bond funds as well as individual bonds have had an incredible tailwind. But if interest rates now are bottomed out and maybe poised to start to climb ever so slightly, that tailwind could easily turn into a headwind.
Now, David, the concern about the Fed, regardless of the sector of the economy you're talking, or the area of investment, it seems there is universal concern about the Fed. As we know, policies can be predicated on personalities. Janet Yellen has taken over as chairman of the Fed. What do you think her stewardship will portend in terms of interest rates and the overall economic outlook?
Well, I think a lot of what she does is really a continuation of what Ben Bernanke did. I don't expect to see anything dramatically different between the two. However, although they want to keep their foot on the gas and on the pedal, on the accelerator, and do everything they can to keep the economy going, the reality, though, is that it's become too politically unpopular to continue with this QE3, this quantitative easing. And that's why Ben Bernanke made the commitment to start to pull back on it this year in 2014, and Janet Yellen has indeed followed suit.
Now, in this volatile situation, because so many of us have been waiting saying, okay, if suddenly now we move away from quantitative easing, which was a fancy way in terms of my understanding to print more money, right, then you end up with incredible inflation. Is this a situation where we're waiting for this kind of interest rate tsunami, or is there anything that will derail this? I guess my question, David, is in your opinion, is there a way to ease off quantitative easing without inviting a kind of interest rate whiplash?
Of course. In fact, when I talk about interest rates, the possibility of rates going up with the removal of QE3 and how that can affect bonds and bond funds, the reality is that I'm not expecting a huge increase. Before QE3 began, the 10-year Treasury rate was close to 4%, and now it's 2.7%. So we might be looking at only a 1% increase. And in order to trigger hyperinflation, we'd actually have to have a significant increase in demand for goods and services. And right now, we're not seeing that. In fact, there are many economists right now that are on the side of the fence saying we could be in a deflationary environment coming up as we are an inflationary environment.
You know, even during the go-go days of the late 1990s, when I was serving in Congress and first named to the Ways and Means Committee, we heard all this talk about the threat of deflation. We also saw the interesting thing worldwide. There was an undercurrent talking about dollarization. But in terms of the dollar and its standing in world currency, at least from my perspective, I'm hard-pressed to see a silver lining. David Scranton, you're a guy at Investors Academy who tries to pick through all of this. You're not like the guys who used to come see us in Washington who would say, on one hand, but on the other hand, leading to the joke, you could take all the economists in the world, lay them end to end, and still never reach a conclusion. David, let me know now, what's the silver lining here? And as an investor, where should I be looking? Where should we be looking in terms of plotting the path through this economic minefield?
Right now, I actually believe that fixed income is probably a much better alternative than the stock market. We're at a record high in the stock market. One thing we know from 200 years of stock market history is that whenever we've gotten into a secular bear market, we've always had at least 3 or more major drops in that secular bear market, and this time we've only had 2. So in many ways, fixed income is actually the safer bet than equities at this point.
And in terms of a portfolio, a lot of people still take a look at precious metals. The volatility of gold, what about the precious metals market? Is it wise to have some investment there?
If you're going to be in equities, yes. Precious metals are much like equities in that you typically, you don't buy them for income, you buy them for potential capital appreciation. And that's, of course, where fixed income is different. You buy fixed income for current income. And if you're going to have a portfolio with a lot of equities, then clearly integrating some precious metals will give you some diversification so that if one zigs, hopefully the other zags.
Just one personal question, David, because I was always intrigued, the difference between the dismal science of economics and the crucial science of investment and investment advising. How did you happen upon this as a career, and in terms of not so much financial windfall, but personal satisfaction, how did you come to do what you do?
Well, it's the ability to be out there and to help people with their financial decisions is huge. I actually started off wanting to go to medical school and help people that way, and I realized that really wasn't my calling. Economists like to talk about theory, they talk theoretically. Financial advisors talk more specifically about real tangible things and things that can affect your average investor on a daily basis. And for example, when we were talking about those secular market cycles a moment ago, if you follow an economist, they'll talk about cycles being maybe 5 to 7 years. Whereas we know that in the real world, the secular stock market cycles that affect investors day in and day out are much longer than that. In fact, there's several economic cycles within every secular stock market cycle as a general rule.
And as you are mentioning these things, David Scranton, it dawns on me the gulf between theory and practice. You may have forsworn medical school, but your calling in terms of financial advising, we appreciate very much. David Scranton, founder and CEO of Advisors Academy, thanks so much for your time and your insights when it comes to our economy.
Great, thank you for having me.
That's David's point of view, your questions. We welcome your thoughts via social media. You can utilize Twitter to get in touch with us. Where's the economy headed? Do you like bonds, or do you think of it as a form of bondage? You can write us at Newsmax TV, hashtag America's Forum. Also, there's email. Our address is connect@newsmaxtv.com. And don't forget about Facebook. There's more to come. Please stay tuned to America's Forum.